A lot of people think of fear as, somebody, jumping out and saying, like, oh, I experienced fear, or doing something they're afraid of. Eleanor Roosevelt had a saying, do something every day that scares you. Now, when people think of that, they think of, oh, I need to go bungee jumping or jumping out of an airplane, right. Or I'm scared of horses, so I need to go ride a horse, do something that scares me. But for the most part, people won't do those types of things that they may be afraid of. But in a very subtle way, we experience fear all the time. You might get a bill in the mail and it's like, oh, I need to take care of that. And that's a fear. Even if you may not experience it as like this shocking thing, that little undertone of anxiety, that is fear. It's fear of the future. It's fear of what's to come. So as many people are sitting here, they're probably thinking of fear as in, seeing scary right. things or things of that nature. But a lot of times with ayahuasca, fear that you experience is actually fear of feeling. You're afraid to feel the sadness. You're afraid to feel, judgment. You're afraid to fear, or you're afraid to feel, all of these things that can be bottled up inside of us. And so fear can become the first thing that comes up, especially when people first come to ayahuasca, because it's like, oh, I've been working my whole life to actually avoid that on a subconscious level. And now this fear presents itself and there is no running away.
There's no escaping.
I'm just here to feel, and I'll feel through my fear until I get to what the fear is trying to keep us from feeling.
Yeah.
So
that's a great way to put it. It might have not even been on a subconscious level. I feel like I was always just suppressing because I felt like as a child I wasn't given that freedom to feel in the right way. And then it just gradually became more and more that I'm just not feeling. And it's that fear was stopping me, like, oh, how am I going to look if I am sad or crying, or if I say I'm scared, or if I say I'm nervous, if I feel anything, even if to show a happy emotion was like I'm being vulnerable. I'm scared of being vulnerable because I wasn't given that safe space to be vulnerable. So all that was definitely coming out in the first two.
Yeah,
sessions.
That's so beautiful. Like when people can move through that and get to a place of actually feeling what's underneath the fear. And ayahuasca typically delivers just that.
Yeah, it took more than 2 times for me.
Yeah.
But the first two were extremely profound for me, eye-opening, and showed me that even though I'm scared, and I still was scared to go back after that, I saw very clearly that this is helping me. This is helping me be me.
Yeah. So now I'm going to kind of jump back a little bit. Okay. When I asked you if you'd come on this podcast with me, what did you experience?
So it was a 2-minute conversation in my head of, I'm scared. I'm scared to talk about feelings myself in front of people. Maybe I'm going to mess up. Maybe I'm going to say the wrong thing. And then I was like, why am I scared? What am I scared about? And I went back and forth. I could say no right now. And I could give in to the fear. Or I could embrace it and be like, I'm nervous, Alex. But yes, I would love to.
Yeah. And so to just see in less than a year, even though coming on a podcast isn't necessarily as scary for somebody going and drinking ayahuasca for the first time, it does have the subtle hints of the unknown. I don't know what it's going to be about. I don't know what's going to be said. I don't know how I'm going to look. Self-judgment can come in, the fear of, being vulnerable now with an audience of people listening or even watching.
Right.
And so to see, I've known you on a pretty personal level over the last 11 months and change. And, we've done a lot of work together. You've come to Peru with me to do a master plant dieta, and to see the growth over the course of a relatively short period of time has been nothing short of remarkable. And so when you said, I'm nervous, but I will do it, like that's just a testament to the work that you've done. Your ability to jump into something again that you're unsure of what it will look like or sound like, or any number of things.
Yeah.
And you're still willing to do it. That's a part of the strength that you've accumulated over the course of less than a year.
And I definitely was able to also process it in that way of being like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Like, as opposed to, okay, I just feel scared. I'm just gonna not think about it and say no, and not even think about why I'm scared. So I definitely see how it translates into my everyday life. And and this is a small example, and there's been many, many examples through the last year of having hard conversations, talking to people, doing hard work that I knew I needed to do, being vulnerable.